Hi, I'm Chris Simkowski, CEO and co-founder of XTend Online. Ever since I've been a boy, I've been fascinated by science and technology. I graduated from Caltech with a degree in computational neural systems, which at that time was one of the only universities in the world offering such a degree. And I often reminisce that I was lucky enough to be able to study Hopfield networks from John Hopfield himself. I spent a year working in the lab of Terry Sinofsky down at the Salk Institute. At that time, we were doing a neural net to try and determine gender based on facial recognition. And what we found is that there just wasn't a processing power to really do the problem justice. We had a very small training set. Our photographs were low resolution. And really, it was that lack of computing power that drove me into parallel computing. I joined Stephen Taylor's lab at Caltech and worked on the J-Machine project, and this is the world's first 3D routed parallel computer, fine-grained. Collaborated with Bill Daly at MIT, and Bill, of course, eventually moved on to Princeton, and today he's NVIDIA's chief scientist. But that project is really what shaped the course of the rest of my career and also provided the inspiration for the project we'll be talking about today. A brief history of the rest of my career. I got pulled into the voice over IP sector by a friend who needed some assistance on a problem. So I spent the entire voice over IP telecom disruption revolution in that industry. In 1999, I moved to Thailand, where I eventually started ProLink, which became Thailand's largest voice over IP carrier. And kind of when that industry matured, I moved on and started a company called World Moto. We made ruggedized taximeters for motorcycle taxis. That company was eventually wound up because it couldn't compete with the likes of Uber and Grab, who had $1 billion in venture funding. But it was a U.S. public company, and being an officer in a small cap U.S. public company taught me a lot about the needs for communication with shareholders and what fair disclosure really means and what compliance is all about. So while the company wasn't necessarily a success, that experience was invaluable to my career. But it was really 2015 by the time I got serious about blockchain technology. My fellow alumnus, Caltech alumnus Hal Finney, processed the world's very first Bitcoin transaction back in 2009. And through some friends, I had learned about it at that time. But to be honest with you, I didn't think much of it. Cryptographic hashes, cryptographic currencies themselves had been tried before. It was nothing new. There didn't seem to be anything really unique or interesting about the technology, and I kind of disparaged it. I can't even say that I didn't know about Bitcoin early. I knew about it and didn't think it was going to work. So it really wasn't until 2015 when I decided, okay, clearly this is not going to go away. This is going to be a big industry in the future, and I needed to understand why I was wrong. What about my biases had led me to such an incorrect conclusion? I don't like to be wrong. And I did a deep dive at that point into blockchain and really looked at the psychology of why it worked and where it was going and what the value proposition really was. And it's the legacy of this extensive research that I did at that point, which is really what led to XTend Online and where the value proposition of the company lies. So in 2017, I co-founded XTend Online with my longtime friend, Rudolf Usselman, and we decided to go ahead and make the Hyperminer a reality. So I hope this is a project that you will find interesting, and I look forward to speaking to you about it further.
Hello, my name is Rudolf Asselman. I'm a hardware engineer, specifically a chip designer. I have been doing chip design for over 30 years. I'm originally from Germany, got my degree in computer science from University of Hamburg. After college, I had the opportunity to go to the US, and I spent about 14 years working in Silicon Valley. I worked for companies like Sun Microsystems, LSI Logic, Cisco, just to name a few. Living and working in Silicon Valley was a really eye-opening experience. I had the honor of working directly for sound founder Andy Bechtolsheim. I also had the pleasure of meeting Bill Joy and Vinod Koshla. I learned a lot during that time. I was one of the designers for the Spark Station 1, which revolutionized the desktop workstation industry as a whole. We left behind the gigantic desk-side computers for a small desktop, which we nicknamed the pizza box. While at Sun, I was sharing a cubicle with this Chinese guy. His name was Jensen Han, and we all know where he is now. Back then he worked at LSI Logic, and today he is the CEO of, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA. After my time in Silicon Valley, I decided to move to Thailand, and I've been writing IP cores for the last 20 years here in Thailand. It all started off writing some free and open IP cores for open cores. It's just something that I really enjoy doing, writing code, designing chips and so on. And so I started doing some free IP cores, and that very quickly turned into a commercial venue. And so I've been doing IP cores for the last 20 years. And for the last 2 years, I've been working with my partner Chris on the XTend Hyperminer, which is a mix of GPU and neural network type of an architecture. So we believe the Hyperminer will truly revolutionize the mining industry the way we know it today. So that's about it. Thank you very much.